so maybe this is a two-part question. So how do you kind of overcome all the noise with email marketing? And then also, how can you use autoresponders to try to get even more micro, delivering the content that someone is wanting to receive?
Okay. Great questions, because as far as I'm concerned, this email autoresponders are a very good like entry-level marketing automation tool, just like a Sprout Social or a Hootsuite, where you would stack content and gather responses for social. You could do the similar concept over here for email. So the first part of the question was, how do I know that someone wants to this, and how do I basically get through on their inbox and actually get open and read?
How do you get noticed? How do you break through the clutter? Something like that,
Yeah, because I mean, like my inbox, like I won't even admit how many actual email addresses that I have. Thankfully, I only have one at AWeber, but my prior life, I'm probably still running about 13 separate email addresses. So that's crazy. And all total, I probably get about 1,200 emails a day, right? So that's the kind of influx that you're competing against. The first thing that I would recommend is only let people in that really want to be in. So people, I always hear this thing about like grow your list, have this big list, but that list is like garbage if it's not a list for people if they don't actually want to be in there. So they can get 5 messages, never open them, that's useless. I would rather have one person that's actually interested in my content. So with that, I would have to say that ask them their permission, like give them a web form, a sign-up form. You can do texting now to sign up for email lists. There's all kinds of stuff. AWeber has tons of integration partners that does stuff like that. But so basically, they need to opt into that list. You can't just buy a list and hope they're interested in your info. But also, when you tell them that you're going to email them on certain topics, stick to that topic. Because there's nothing worse than saying, I'm signing up and I want email about all the new shoes, and then they send me hats and I'm not interested in hats. And it's kind of that type of thing that if you bait and switch them, they will drop out and you're not going to get anything out of that list. But I see a lot of that where people just want to grow their lists almost in any means possible. And then they're like, we're going to sell to them. And email, in my opinion, is not really for doing that hard sell. It's for developing that relationship and showing that you know your stuff and that you can provide them value. And, oh, by the way, we happen to sell this thing. So that's kind of always how I approach it. So the more that you can stick with staying to your core messaging that you tell them, even if they're on multiple lists, and one list is for hats and one list is for shoes, well, that's cool. But you need to stick to what you're saying with that. Subject lines and A/B split testing and all of these things kind of get really granular when people want to go further down that pipe. But if you deliver what you say you're going to deliver and those people are interested in it, they'll open your emails. Whitelisting helps too. So if you ask people to add your email address to their kind of address book, it always gets through. So that's a nice trick that you can use. But as far as sitting down and figuring out what content to write, was that the other half of the question?
I think.
You think? We're just talking here, Clark.
I know. Well, hey, I don't want to. Yeah, if I ask a second question and it might not, I love where you're going with this, and maybe we'll bounce back to that second thing. But one just quick comment I wanted to make is what I'm hearing is marketing automation, and it all comes down to nurturing.
Yes.
And it all starts with your content, and it starts with what your audience wants. I think that was the second question. I think we're just asking about, what else, like how do you actually make it happen and all that. So
you're right. So I mean the tool. I mean that's what AWeber is. That's what a lot of the marketing automation platforms are. They are tools, and they're only as good as what you put in them, right? So that's why I say you kind of have to do that planning offline a little bit. That if you look at something on paper and you look at the flow and you're like, this doesn't really make sense. If and then you also have to look at if someone inserted themselves into this process in the middle, would it still make sense to them? So I see a lot of that as well too. You have to take all of my messaging, all of my marketing, or what I'm saying, my story doesn't make any sense. And I think that that's where marketers have to be storytellers as well, that they have to make sure that no matter where their prospect is along the line, that it's not confusing and it's valuable. So that's why plotting the whole thing out A to Z, outlining it, really understanding where you're going and what you would like. I have this concept of expected outcomes, right? So every time that I do a piece of work, it's not call to action, right? That's what I'd like them to do right then and there. every time I write something for an autoresponder series, a blog post, a webinar, whatever, like, what is the expected outcome? What do I want you, Clark, to get out of this webinar when we're done? And what do I want myself, to get out of this webinar when we're done? Not the thing that you need to click. So I think that that's really important as well, too. And if you can have a progression of expected outcomes, then I think that a lot of your marketing and the content that you put into your marketing automation programs will be a lot better and a lot more robust for potential clients.